Hey, welcome to another episode of Spritz of Wisdom. Let's dive straight into my sip of the week. These are my highs and lows of my previous week living here in South Italy. Beginning with the highs, as we always do. Last week, Friday night, for my waitlist members to be precise, and then Saturday for everybody else, I launched my online community, the Aperitivo Lounge. I'm incredibly excited to be building this because this was a concept that I started talking about at the beginning of 2025. At that point, I had a different name for it. It was Expats in Bloom. But as the year progressed, I decided to evolve and pivot where my brand was going, Ms. Brittany. And it meant that I ended up rebranding this community to be called the Aperitivo Lounge. Also because I wanted to move away from using the term expat. Let's digress a little bit to talk about that because I think it's important. This whole expat versus immigrant debate isn't going anywhere. People really have quite negative associations with the term immigrant, but also expat is heavily loaded as an expression to indicate privilege and wealth and, possibilities that some people just don't have. And it could be argued that people lean into using that term more because immigrant just feels beneath them. Now, I have to be honest with you. I have never, ever once denied the fact that I am an immigrant. Trust me, you only have to go to a government office here in Italy to be really, really sure of your position in this country. But that said, I've also not really boxed myself into a particular category. I've said, look, I can be both. Now, it could be argued that expat is really used more frequently for people who live in Italy on a short-term basis rather than on a long-term basis like I am. But still, I've never really boxed myself off into a category. I've always said I can be both. However, I have to be honest with you and say that the reason I first kind of went with this whole term expat was because when I myself first moved to Italy and I was trying to find my community and I was trying to look for information and resources to help me build my life in Italy, the only word that I saw everywhere online was this term expat. And I have to be honest, I don't think I ever saw any kind of online community or forum that used the term immigrant. So naturally, when I built Ms. Brittany and I started to do my content, I leaned into using that word because I wanted people to find me. If all the content people could find on the internet about moving to Italy used that term expat and I didn't use it, who's going to know about me, right? So that was kind of my logic and rationale at the beginning. But the longer I've spent living in this country, I've realized that I don't want to get embroiled in the debate about whether a person is an expat or an immigrant, because I've always believed that you can be both. However, I want to lean into the community vibes, which is what I've built. And so that was partly why I decided to rebrand the name as well, just to remove myself from any kind of negative or loaded connotations. So the Aperitivo Lounge it is, and I love it. I love the vibe and energy of what it brings. But I'm incredibly proud of this community because I am not a person just to talk the talk. I also walk the walk. It might take me some time sometimes to bring to fruition what it is that I'd like to do, but I always do what I say I'm going to do. And this is something that I've been talking about since the beginning of 2025, but is now officially here because the timing was right. The concept I've created feels good. And I'm ready to give my everything into this year. I'm showing up in the community every single day. I'm creating great content. And if you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about in terms of what's included, it's a $20 a month community membership. And within that, you get community chat forums where you can access me every single day I'm there. Also, you can communicate and connect with each other, learn about Italy. There's monthly masterclasses. So January's masterclass is your practical plan for moving to Italy. And I go into depth. This is like over a 1 hour masterclass. I go into depth about the kinds of things you need to consider from a holistic point of view, because one thing about this community is not like a tick box exercise. Yes, you need to figure out your bureaucracy, your housing, your kind of status in this country. Absolutely. Like, I'm not denying that at all. And certainly these are topics of masterclasses that we will cover, including with expert speakers. But you also need to think about your mindset. You need to think about the way you're going to make connections in this country. You need to think about looking after your mental health. And I also talk about those because moving to Italy is a holistic experience. It's not just a tick box exercise. And I'm really, really careful to focus on those other aspects because I know so many other forums online do not. So there is so much going on within this community. There is also a monthly live aperitivo hour with me where you can jump on, we can hang out together, we can talk about all things Italy and really build connection, and I can answer your questions. I'm super excited about this space, and there is so much more to come in the coming year with like member events and so forth. So if you would like to be one of the founding 50 members, because that's right, I'm closing the doors at 50 members in order to keep a bit more of an intimate feel to the community. I want it to be big enough that you have the opportunity to meet different people, but not so big that you lose the intimacy of what I'm creating. So if you want to be part of the founding 50, I will put the link below in the show notes on whatever platform you're listening to or watching me on. I'm starting to welcome founding members through the doors as we speak, and I'm so grateful to have you there and to start to cultivate this beautiful garden, because everything takes time when you build something from scratch. But I'm really passionate about what I'm building, and I hope that you too will love to be a part of it as well. So let's move into the low of the past week. It is weather related. I have said this to you before, but the weather is a topic of conversation that us Brits love to mention. But also, I think it highlights two important points. So the weather here in January is bleak. I'm talking cold. Like last night where I live, it was -1 degrees. I am in the south of Italy, everyone. Hello. Not only that, but we've had at least 9 solid days of rain. Trust me when I tell you, rain. It's not even just rain. We've even had hail, strong wind. It's been something. And I know that we are not the only part of Italy to be experiencing this, because I know people in Milan who have been saying just how grey and miserable and cold it is there as well. So January is bleak here. But the reason it's important for you to consider this is because as much as it can feel a bit of a low, because what can you do when the weather is like this, right? It's pretty darn miserable to wake up to every single day. If you can appreciate Italy as a country, even when the weather looks like this, then I think you know that you've found your place. And that's why I always stress to people that if you are serious about moving to Italy, this is the month you need to come and visit it, because I promise you, Italy does not look as pretty in this weather. So you need to come and visit Italy in the month of January and then decide if it's still the country for you. Because if you still like it in January, I promise you it's the place for you to move to. But not only that, but also it highlights a point that people perhaps don't realize just what it can be like here in Italy in January. Because I had a comment on my latest YouTube video from somebody saying, we really appreciate your content. Thank you so much. But we'd love you to do more outdoor content, to go outside, show us places, take us places. And trust me, yes, this is something that I will be doing a lot more of in 2026, because I actually do enjoy going to places and showing you around Italy. But in the month of January, when it's -1 degree temperatures outside and it's raining and it's just really, really bleak, I'm not sure what kind of a video I'm actually going to be able to produce for you. But not only that, I also don't want to catch a cold or fever, So if you are one of those people who are absolutely craving more outdoor content on my channel, there are plenty of vlogs I've got there, plenty of other videos that take you to different parts of Italy that you can consume during this period. And then once the weather picks up, I will indeed be out a lot more. But yeah, it's just to tell you that Italy can be pretty bleak in January, and not many people tend to go out and about during this month for this reason. So just in case you weren't sure. But yeah, a bit of a low this week, the weather, but there we are. It's to be expected. So let's get into the full pour of today's episode. And today's full pour is a little bit vulnerable. So it could be a bit messy the way that I describe it. I might spill a bit on the table, shall we say. But essentially, it's me being real and vulnerable, because there is one thing that I keep doing in Italy that I know is literally keeping me in chains and holding me back. And I want to stop. And I'm calling myself out in this episode in the same way that I hope I can call you out too if you have been guilty of this as well. But essentially, I just care way too much what other people think. And this has been like a bit of an ongoing thing for me. I go through phases. Where I feel better. I go through phases where I'm not really interested so much in what other people are thinking. But then I go through other phases like I'm in at the moment, where it almost feels overwhelming, like what other people could be thinking of me. And I think the reason that I'm feeling like this, especially in this moment, is because I have just launched my community. And I know that people are watching. I know that people are observing. They're waiting to see how well it does. They're waiting to see if people join. And it makes me feel really overwhelmed, because I'm there thinking, are people thinking that I'm failing? Are people taking notes and learning how to do things better? But it's a crazy thing because you can never ever get into the head of another person. You can never fully understand what they're thinking. And so I'm like keeping myself in chains at a moment when I should be really proud of having launched something beautiful. And I'm also forgetting a really key concept in that the garden does not become beautiful and lush overnight. You cultivate a garden over time. You don't plant a seed and the very next day it's a fully grown flower. It takes time. And this is a concept that I think we have lost track of with the way society is nowadays, promoting instant gratification, instant results. We've lost the ability to be patient and to recognize that things take time sometimes. And also, I must remember that when you are building something, when you are creating something, if other people are judging you, if other people are talking about you, if other people are like, see, not doing that well, what are they building themselves? This is a really common thing. People who have something to say about what you're doing in a negative sense are usually not doing anything positive themselves in their own lives, right? This is the key, most fundamental thing to remember of all. And so I wanted to talk about this today because really over this weekend, I just felt paralyzed in the grips of thinking, what are people thinking of what I'm building and creating? What are they thinking about my community? What are the new members thinking within my community? Like I was just stuck in this analysis paralysis, right? And then I was like, just stop, Claire. You have to stop because it is such a toxic space to be in. But not only that, I think I see it play out in other areas of my life here in Italy. Filming outdoors, for example, it gives me the ick sometimes to actually film outdoors and have people watch me. I can film walking around, no problem, filming the scenery. But if I turn the camera onto me and start talking, I instantly feel really anxious because I'm aware that maybe people are watching me or observing what I'm doing, and I don't like it, which is paradoxical because I produce this content which you all consume and watch. But I guess it's because it's not live in the moment that I feel okay with it. It's super strange. I'm complicated. I think it's this. But I have to get over that because, first and foremost, what does it matter what people think of me? Some of those people I might never see again, particularly if I'm in a part of Italy that I don't live in, for example. But secondly, I'm doing something that lights me up. I absolutely love producing my content. I absolutely love taking you to places and showing you around. So why should I care what other people think? And this is something that I've got to keep reminding myself of. Also, speaking Italian. Goodness me, I've tied myself up in a million and one chains when it comes to speaking Italian here in Italy because I've had experiences in the past where people have made it very clear to me that they do not have the foggiest clue of what I'm saying, either through their facial expressions or through like, cosa? So it's like interesting how I have taken that to heart and I've allowed it to silence me. But I don't want to do that this year. One of you commented on my videos and were like, oh, when are you going to produce a video in Italian? It's going to be this year, guys. I'm going to do it. I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm aiming just to do the job and you get better as you go along, right? So it's this. I guess I'm becoming a little tired of keeping myself stuck in chains because I'm so worried about what other people think. At the end of the day, we can never control other people, nor should we want to. But not only that, does it really matter what other people think? People are so fickle. People are 1 minute really interested in you, the next they're not. People are complicated. It's so difficult to understand people. Why do we allow our lives and the things that we want to do to be so heavily influenced by what we think people think of us? This is the reality. And I think, social media doesn't help with this either because, when you post something onto social media, people can see what you're doing and they can see the reaction it's having. And so that makes you feel quite vulnerable in that moment. But I think essentially, if you're building something, if you're living a fulfilled life, you don't generally have negative things to say to other people. I think it's the people that are like trolls on social media or the people that are kind of quite negative about others that are the ones that are not very fulfilled themselves. And so my chin for you this week, because this is like a talking therapy session for me today, is that try to stop allowing what you think other people think about you to determine what you do, how you live your life, and the things that you want to achieve. If your plan is to move to Italy and other people are not so receptive to that, or you're worried what people are going to think about your ideas, just stop right there, because otherwise you are never ever going to do the thing that you've always wanted to do. If you're building something, but you're worried that it's not going to be successful immediately, or people are going to be judging you because, perhaps it's not growing as quickly as you'd like it to, stop right there. The fact is, you've started to build something, and that is incredible. And you're learning and growing every step of the way. If you are blocked when it comes to speaking in Italian or in any other language, and as a result, you stay silent, stop there. The fact is, you're learning another language. That's an incredible thing. Many people go through life just speaking the native mother tongue that they've grown up with. Not many people put in the work or commitment to learn a second language. And those people that judge you or ridicule you, can they speak a second language? Like, why do we do this to ourselves? I think the key thing here is to focus on your own path, stay in your own lane, do less things that draw comparisons, like spending time doom scrolling on social media, for example, and do more things that light you up and remind you of your purpose and the reason for doing what you do. Everything that I produce, this community that I have launched, everything that I do is with a mission to help you to thrive in Italy and to open your eyes to life here so that you are able to do just that. And that is my mission. And that's what I need to lean into on the days where I'm worried what people are thinking about me and what I'm creating. That's the message that I need to lean into. And so that is my chin chin for you this week. Stop letting the opinions of others, or the so-called opinions of others, because we never truly know what they think, as I've said before, determine your life. Take your path and walk it with pride. I'll see you in the next episode.